Hey guys, it is Christine. Welcome back to another video. If you're new, I would love it if you would subscribe if you're interested in homeschool content, because that is what I share here on this channel. I have 3 kids. They are 5, 3, and 1. And in today's video, I want to talk to you about tips for doing read alouds with little ones. I was homeschooled myself from age 11 through to graduation, and by far my fondest memory of being homeschooled was my mother reading aloud to us. She did it every morning as part of one of the first things we did in our homeschool schedule, and it was just a really sweet time as a family. There are 4 of us, 4 kids in my family, and we all just loved it. And I knew that I wanted to carry that on to my homeschool with my children. And so I started doing read alouds when my kids were like 4, 2, and a few months old. And doing read alouds with little ones can be challenging. You're kind of thinking, what should I read aloud to them? How do I read aloud to them? It's different from doing picture books, although picture books are always a good way to start. So if you're not already reading to your kids, I suggest doing it and just start doing it regularly so that they get used to it. Reading to your kids is like the best thing you can do for them. But basically, I'm going to talk you through what I've done and how I think it's worked really well for our family. So I've been doing read alouds for like a year and a half, formally, consistently, like chapter book read alouds with my kids. And we started doing it, I think over breakfast was when I started doing it the first time. And that is what I would recommend doing it first, is finding a meal time where they're all occupied and starting to do your read aloud then, because it's just easier. Everyone's sitting down for something anyway, and they're occupied. If you have a baby, the baby should be happy, the toddler's happy, and it worked really well for us. So I recommend doing it over a meal time. If you're just starting out, do it that way. The second tip is to pick something that you are fairly certain that they're going to be interested in, because reading about something, like, for instance, my son would not at all be interested in reading a story about a ballerina. Like, it just wouldn't interest him. He wants, like, life and learning and living books, and I'm not saying that there are no living books with ballerinas in them, but, it's just not in his interest at the moment. He wants, like, trucks and guy stuff, and so I tried to pick things that were like that. But try and find something that your child's going to be interested in. And also, if they're not used to chapter books at all and you don't think they're going to sit through that at all, start with picture books and do like picture books that are maybe a little bit longer in length, and then you can work up to chapter books. The point is doing a little bit every day will end up being a lot. And so, yeah, just start small. That's totally fine. Find something that you know that they're going to be interested and go from there. The other thing is just don't overthink it. There are so many books. Pick one, start. It's fine. Like, you really don't need to overthink this. If your child doesn't like it, you can stop. And that's something I find hard. I'm like, if I've started a book, we have to commit to it. Honestly, if they're not enjoying it, just stop. We started doing The Wizard of Oz last year, and my kids just really weren't interested in it. And so we stopped, and I'll try it again when they're a bit older. It just wasn't a story that they were that interested in. So we stopped with that. Now, what I would suggest is going online and finding book lists, because it makes it a lot easier to find books that you think your kids will be interested in. Simply Charlotte Mason has wonderful book lists, and that's what I have personally gone off of. And also just books that I enjoyed as a kid, and I was pretty sure my kids would. And so far, we're up to On the Shores of Silver Lake, in the Little House on the Prairie series. We've read Little House in the Big Woods, Farmer Boy, Little House on the Prairie, and On the Banks of Plum Creek. We've also done Charlotte's Web. That was another book that we've done this year, and my kids just love it. They absolutely love it. We started by reading just a few pages a day, and now we read a chapter, sometimes a chapter and a half a day, sometimes 2 chapters, depending on how long they are and how long my kids' attention span is. So we started small, and I really suggest you do that. Set a timer if you need to, like on your phone or whatever, but just feel out your kids. If they're not listening anymore, there's no point in you reading. But the more you do it, the more consistent you are, the better they will be at listening and being able to sit and pay attention. The next thing that I'm going to suggest is, if you're not doing it over a meal, is to have activities ready. So whether that be Play-Doh, Legos, coloring, Any of those things are totally fine. It is 100% fine for your child to be doing something with their hands while they're listening to you. They're still listening. They're still taking it in. I can guarantee you this because I've seen it with my kids. So it is totally fine to have activities set up for your kids to do, especially if you're not doing it over a mealtime. And it means that you don't have to worry about them like getting the wiggles and needing to move around, because they can just be on the floor playing with their toys. My son will like line up his car and play, and my daughter loves to color in, so she'll be sitting there coloring. My toddler can play with Play-Doh. It all works really, really well. And if you're just doing it every single day, they will get used to it. So that is a tip I will give you, is to be consistent. We do read aloud over breakfast, and so even on the day we don't do formal book work, which is a Tuesday, we still do read aloud. And my kids love it. They really enjoy it. And they will usually ask me for more. Like, I'll try and finish and they'll be like, oh, please, Mom, just a little bit more. And so we'll do a little bit more. And it brings so much joy to our family. I love it. Love reading to my children. And I love seeing them then play out the stories in their playtime. I'll see them outside and they'll be like replaying scenes in the book or making their own version of the story. And that to me is just wonderful. So it just shows the comprehension that they're getting from it, and just the vocabulary and the life skills that they're learning, and just opening their minds to a wider world than just the little bubble that they live in. And I love that they get to experience different times, different places, and how they all fit together in the scheme of things has been really amazing. So if you have little ones, I want to encourage you. You can do this. It's tricky with babies and toddlers. I will give you that for sure. But the more you do it, the more they get used to it, and the more they will enjoy it. Give yourself grace. Give your children grace. You can do this. It is going to be a blessing to your family. I hope these tips were helpful. If you have any tips about doing read alouds for little ones, or your favorite books to read to little ones, leave them down in the description below. In the comments below, and I will love to read them, check them out, and respond to you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone?